What if all this time you haven't really been behind, but actually getting ready for the exact moment when the world is finally ready for you? It's strange how society pushes you to believe that success comes with an expiration date, as if after a certain age opportunities dry up and life is nothing more than a cycle of predictable routines. But here's something people rarely talk about. Many of the most solid achievers weren't the fastest, they were the ones who knew how to wait. And they didn't wait sitting on their hands, they were building in silence, strengthening every fiber of their character, collecting lessons, growing connections, sharpening their purpose. To most, they were invisible, until suddenly they showed up with a force that couldn't be ignored. By the time you finish this video, you won't just understand the purpose behind your setbacks, you'll be more prepared to go after the success you've been chasing all along. Maybe you haven't noticed, but the deepest roots always grow long before the first leaf breaks through the surface. And that process, invisible to impatient eyes, is where the difference is forged between a success that crumbles with the first strong wind and one that lasts for decades. Napoleon Hill knew this well. Speed might get you attention, but maturity gives you staying power. And those who bloom late don't show up empty-handed. They arrive with an arsenal of experiences, failures, lessons, and certainties no manual could ever teach. Think about everything you've lived through up until now. The moments you thought you'd failed for good. The paths you thought were dead ends but eventually revealed hidden lessons. That's the raw material real success is built on. Not the absence of failure, but the art of turning setbacks into stepping stones. The ones who reach the top after many tries don't just know how to get there, they know how to stay there. They don't depend on luck or a lucky break. They depend on a plan, on a purpose that's been distilled over years like a fine wine. Sometimes the world cheers for the one who gets there first, but rarely do they notice whether that applause lasts. The late bloomer doesn't need to prove anything right away. They've learned that time is an ally, not an enemy. Society calls it a delay. Hill would call it incubation. And deep down, even if you don't always admit it, you know that this incubation has given you something money can't buy: resilience. You've learned to stand firm when the tide is against you, to wait when others panic, to build quietly while the spotlight moves toward fleeting winds. What feels like a delay might actually be a strategy you never consciously designed, but one that's been shaping you for something bigger. The ones who rush ahead often burn through their energy before they even understand the terrain. You, on the other hand, have explored it, studied it, mapped it. And when you take your step, it won't be to test your luck, it'll be to claim what's yours. Picture a bow being pulled back. The longer it's drawn, the more power it builds for the release. Each passing year, each failed attempt, each restart, is like pulling that string tighter and tighter. To someone who doesn't understand the process, it might look like you're wasting time, falling behind. But when you finally let go, the arrow will fly farther than the ones shot too soon, because the energy you've stored is unmatched. That's the power of the late bloomer. They don't rush, they build momentum. Hill used to say that a definite purpose is the cornerstone of every achievement. And that purpose doesn't always arrive in your 20s or 30s. Sometimes it comes after a series of unexpected turns, jobs that didn't fit, projects that never took off. It's in that maze where you learn what you don't want, and in the process, you refine what you do want. And when you finally discover it, there's no hesitation left, just a certainty that becomes pure fuel. You're not driven by trends or peer pressure, you're driven by conviction. And conviction, when paired with persistence, is unstoppable. So when your moment arrives, and it will, you won't need to explain yourself. Your work, your preparation, your story will do the talking for you. People will think you came out of nowhere, but you'll know the truth, that you've been building not just the path, but the version of yourself capable of walking it without stumbling at the first turn. That's the hidden advantage of those who bloom late. When they show up, they don't improvise, they execute. And here's the most powerful part. Deep down, you already know that everything you've lived through was necessary. If you had hit success earlier, maybe you wouldn't have had the maturity to hold on to it. Maybe you would have lost it, or worse, not valued it. Time has taught you to separate the essential from the trivial, to put your energy only where it matters. You've learned how to say no to the things that pull you off track, something many people never learn in a lifetime. So the next time you feel like you're running late, remember, You're not racing against the clock, you're racing against your best self. And that version of you doesn't always show up in the first round. It shows up after covering ground, getting your hands dirty, and surviving storms. Early applause might be sweet, but the applause that comes after a long wait is deeper, more deserved, and far more lasting. This isn't consolation, it's strategy. It's not resignation, it's vision. It's not a delay, it's preparation. And when you finally cross that finish line you've been picturing for so long, you won't feel like you got there late. You'll know you arrived right on time. Because the perfect moment isn't when others say it should happen. It's when your life, your mind, and your spirit are all ready to carry it. And right there, in that exact moment, you'll begin to live your true victory. True triumph is rarely built in a straight line. It's full of detours, pauses, and setbacks that, from the outside, look like wasted time, but in reality are part of the design. What many call failure, others see as the fertile ground where the next opportunity takes root. In this sense, blooming late isn't an accident, but a process of maturation. And not a passive kind of maturation, but the kind that demands introspection, patience, and a determination that hardens with every fall. Napoleon Hill observed that great achievements almost always spring from a clear vision and unshakable persistence. Yet that vision doesn't appear overnight. It's shaped by experience, by scars, by the days when it feels like nothing is moving forward. Every obstacle, every closed door, forces you to refine your strategy and recognize that the fastest route isn't always the strongest one. That's where the slow mover gains the edge. By not being obsessed with speed, they can pay attention to the details, spot dangers before tripping over them, and adjust their course with precision. The late bloomer isn't racing to be first, they're fighting to be the one who lasts the longest once they get there. That shift in mindset changes everything. Rushing often pushes people toward shortcuts, and shortcuts rarely teach the lessons needed to sustain a big goal. Patience, on the other hand, demands that you develop skills and habits that turn into solid foundations. Hill spoke often about the importance of having a definite purpose and a well-organized plan. Someone who has waited years for results has had more than enough time to test both, strengthen them, and shield them from the blows of adversity. Along the way, blooming late teaches you to listen more than you speak, to observe more than you react. That ability to read the field before you make a move becomes a strategic weapon. Many fail because they mistake activity for progress. They hustle, they grind, but they're not moving in the right direction. The one who matures into success slowly knows it's not enough to just do. You have to do the right thing at the right time. And when that time finally comes, the impact is far greater, because behind it lies an accumulation of energy, resources, and conviction that can't be faked. There's something deeply freeing about not depending on instant approval. Late bloomers have learned to work without applause, to build without an audience, to get back up without anyone noticing. That emotional independence gives them an enormous advantage. They're not chained to outside validation, which means they can make strategic decisions without the weight of other people's expectations. Hill knew that public opinion could be one of the biggest anchors for a dreamer, and that real freedom comes from acting on an inner vision, not on outer applause. History is packed with examples that prove this. People who didn't get recognition until everyone else would have written them off, yet still left a mark that couldn't be erased. What they shared wasn't just talent, it was a mix of discipline, patience, and a crystal-clear sense of purpose. Some had gone through decades of setbacks, but each stumble added another layer of resilience. And when they finally hit their stride, they didn't just reach the top. They stayed there with a stability the fast starters could never hold on to. Blooming late also means understanding the value of silence and invisible preparation. While others chase immediate results, you're focused on strengthening your roots. Hill compared this process to planting. If you try to harvest too soon, the fruit isn't ready and it spoils. But if you respect the natural cycle, the outcome is richer, stronger, longer lasting. Impatience, on the other hand, rips opportunities out of the ground before they're ready, leaving a bitter taste that many mistake for bad luck. During that waiting time, the late bloomer learns not to waste movement. Every action has a purpose, every word is weighed, every step counts. Experience teaches that success isn't a sudden win, but the sum of well-aimed decisions made over time. That's why, when the moment finally arrives, the breakthrough looks effortless, almost inevitable. But it's not. It's the result of years of quiet discipline, of small victories that laid the groundwork for a bigger one. Hill insisted that failure is just a teacher in disguise. And the late bloomer has been its most faithful student. They've learned how to turn frustration into fuel, how to reinterpret defeat as valuable information. That mindset separates them from those who give up quickly or get dazzled by short-lived success. The maturity they've earned lets them see beyond the immediate blow. They understand that every obstacle comes with a clue, a lesson that, if applied, moves them closer to their goal. Maybe the greatest strength of the late bloomer is emotional endurance. They've faced disappointments that would have crushed others, and each one toughened them without turning them bitter. That blend of toughness and faith is what lets them keep going when others burn out. Faith, for Hill, wasn't some abstract idea. It was a conviction born out of steady repetition of thought and focused action. Those who've waited long for their breakthrough have had more time to grow that faith until it becomes part of who they are. The modern world worships speed. It rewards the ones who rack up quick wins, who go viral overnight. But history keeps proving that speed doesn't always win the race. Sometimes, the one who looked slow was really building a stronger path, one that doesn't collapse when the winds change. Hill would have put it this way: victory belongs to the person who's prepared to hold it, not just the one who reaches it first. Blooming late doesn't mean sitting around waiting. It means working so consistently that time becomes an ally, not a judge. It means being willing to take the long road because you know the view at the end will be worth it. It means not falling for the illusion that everything has to happen right now, because you understand that what's cooked slow always tastes better than what's thrown in the microwave. And even though it might look like success showed up overnight, you'll know the truth: it didn't. Every quiet day of work, every tough decision, every moment you chose to keep going instead of quitting, they were all part of the same plan. Hill taught that a definite purpose combined with unstoppable persistence makes anyone into a force that can't be denied. You, the one who learned to wait, who endured more than you thought you could, are living proof that time doesn't hold back those who are building something worth holding onto. Blooming late is a quiet but powerful statement. It doesn't matter when you arrive, it matters how you arrive. And when you do, it won't be to prove you can, it'll be to stay. Because you'll have shown up not just with a dream, but with the strength to keep it alive. And in a world that confuses speed with success, that's the greatest victory you could ever win. When all is said and done, you'll realize it never really mattered how long it took you. What mattered was the person you became while you were waiting. And that realization will be worth more than any recognition or number. Because in the end, what holds you up isn't the applause, but the quiet certainty that you showed up at the exact moment you were ready to stay. That's the real victory few ever understand, and time, sooner or later, always makes it clear. Look back without fear and revisit the chapters you thought were wasted. Every one of them, even the toughest ones, played a part in shaping who you are today. The choices that once felt like mistakes might have been the very ones that led you to cross paths with people who opened doors, or to learn skills you now can't live without. It wasn't chance, it was the invisible thread time was weaving so that your story would carry the weight it does. And once you see it, you'll stop looking at your path as a string of delays and start seeing it as precision training. Napoleon Hill understood that lasting success isn't some sudden prize. It's the natural outcome of steady preparation. He called it the law of sowing and reaping, not just in a material sense, but mentally and emotionally. If you plant persistence, faith, and purpose, you'll inevitably harvest results others will dismiss as luck. But you'll know luck had nothing to do with it. Real luck is the privilege of showing up ready. And for that, sometimes, you've got to wait longer than society thinks makes sense. Blooming late also gives you a kind of peace most people never get to know. You've watched trends come and go. You've seen others hit their peak only to lose it as quickly as they found it. You've noticed how the rush to shine early pushes people into hasty decisions that cost them years to recover from. You, on the other hand, understand that some battles aren't won by striking first, but by striking at the right time. That kind of patience is a victory on its own. Because you don't let the fear of falling behind control you, you move with the conviction that your moment doesn't compete with anyone else's.